Solar energy. I put my money in solar and sun energy. What a source of power that would be. I hope we don't have to wait until oil and coal run out before we tackle that. I wish I had more years left. Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison said that. An inventor of the phonograph and a businessman of the light bulb. Now, that man knew a good thing when it was coming. He was really onto something. And now that we are in the future, I can tell you that he really was. I'm going to inform you about the resources and harmful effects of oil. In 2016, there was an oil crisis that cut off the East Coast with a pipeline that was located in Alabama. They concluded that over 336,000 gallons were spilled, which caused about $600,000 to be lost, and not also to mention the amount of time and energy used to make the cleanup. These, however, are nothing compared to the panic that was caused by people fearing that they couldn't get to work on time because they didn't have enough gas. I myself was a victim of this crisis. Like so many Americans, I drive to work to my area of employment and also get home after a hard day's work. I know firsthand the fear that it sparked when the new announcement came that only a new gas station opened up with a few gallons of gas an hour away. Now, that might work for some people, but if you had to drive out there and not get it, I can't imagine driving back. Most of all, if you live in an area of that time frame, remember the effects it had on the lines, the price, and the pump. Now imagine if this happened again, however, it was on a larger scale and the pumps didn't come back on. The greatest thing about America is that it has a lot of space, a lot of elbow room, and a lot of places to go. However, this is also a big flaw we have as a society. We do not have the necessary transportation that can bring us to our workplace or even large cities. If you live in the Triangle area, most of you know that work is somewhat of a commute. For most Americans, it has, and it will continue to be. Now, I want to continue on this thought and look for a solution. As a population, almost all Americans own a car. With those cars require a lot of oil, and with that oil comes a lot of waste. The reason why I propose we focus on a renewable resource is that solar energy is not going to run out. Take a moment to think about not having to pay for gas and not having the cost inflate over time because of the source. It's been around forever and it will to be, the sun. So, depleting dinosaurs. We know that oil is running out, it's a depleting resource, and we have geological limitations. This can be caused due to the gas running out and then prices spiking. First, I will discuss about solar energy, what it is, and how we process it. Next, I'm going to talk about the benefits along with the cons of solar energy possesses. And lastly, I'll explain the necessary policies and applicable sources for transportation to solar energy. So first, what the blazes is solar energy. Solar energy is the process of harnessing the sun's rays into electrical process known as photovoltaic effect. Not that long ago, in 1839, a French scientist by the name of Alexander Edmond Varsiquil, excuse me if I said it wrong, discovered that certain materials would get off sparks of electricity when stuck into the sunlight. Researchers were quick to notice that the sunlight could be used to their advantage to make electricity, and so they got to work. Scientists found the proper materials that can give off an amount of charge, and that would be transferable to batteries. So that is actually silicon. Silicon is the second most abundant element in the Earth's crust, and it's actually mistaken for a bunch of sand. So when you're outside and you're walking on sand on beaches, some of that actually might be silicon. So it's actually comparable to oxygen, which is the first most abundant atom in our atmosphere. So how solar panels work is that there's a layering of silicon crystals that is mixed with other elements to make a positive and negative charge, kind of stacked up on top of each other. The sun escapes its electrons and the crystals and move on between them to charge up a battery. That is what is connected. This battery is able to power up homes, hospitals, and even your car. Solar panels are, I'm sure as you've seen, like this, filled with little blocks. Each block is consisted of these materials, and a bunch of those blocks put together equals a solar panel. So each of these blocks can come and soak up some of the sun's rays to excite these electrons within these silicon crystals and give off a charge. So one of these blocks can get a fraction of the sun's power. Many blocks make a panel, which takes a lot. Next, I'll talk to you about the bright sides of using this resource. Pollutants. The runoff of oil and the CO2 emissions is very contributable to all the oil we've been burning. There's toxic fumes, and there's a carbon buildup. The sun is a marvel that will not deplete and harm the earth, such as oils. The reason we now have to worry about byproducts of fossil fuels is due to the increase of CO2 emissions, like I said. Over the years, there's been a shift in climate change, and researchers and countries alike are starting to study its effects on the earth. A study performed by Gustav Emme and Karl Former from the Russian Meteorology and Hydrology state that between 1894 in 2010, they concluded that 20% of this change in atmosphere has been up to CO2 emissions. Now that leaves the other percentage, which is actually caused by other pollutants, not CO2, such as methane and natural changes to the Earth's atmosphere pressure. However, if you take into account the human body, we actually give up a lot of energy ourselves, and we use a lot of pollutants too. So we have to take that into account. But we can make a difference by using just solar energy as a one step forward. Think about the future as well as the benefits. We have clean air, reduced dependency, and free energy. The benefits is that the Earth's not going to heat up as much as if we use oil. So think about your body as having a fever. A body having a fever is about 100 degrees, and then with 106, your body actually perishes. So imagine if that was the Earth going up just a couple degrees. The Earth probably wouldn't sustain itself. We already see like oceans rising, and we see coral bleaching. So that's the pH and the temperature of the water actually just changing a couple degrees. So we have to take that into account. Another point I would like to address is the pollutant of oil. As I stated earlier, oil can cause a lot of panic, and not only to the resources, but the amount of energy doing the cleanup. As I'm sure all of you know, in 2010 there was a BP oil spill. This spill actually cost $20 billion to clean up, and after it was ruled by the judge, the BP had to pay. But there was on a high alert from all the states and governors around the area who had to come up with money in front. So solar panels have also had hard points about other researchers looking into putting solar panels in farms. So North Carolina is actually one of the places that they want to build a solar farm. However, a researcher by the name of Kathleen, she went to North Carolina to go see the solar farm, but people were actually freaked out, saying the locals were saying that the solar panels would suck up the sun's rays and deplete the sun, and that people wouldn't be willing to come to the area because of all the sun that has been gone. They were also scared about the solar panels leaking cancers, fumes, and all the wildlife dying from all of it. Now, I don't know about you, but this sounds like people who need a reality check into science rather than an episode on the Twilight Zone. Another policy that would help transfer solar panels would be a tax on carbon emissions. So this leads me to my next point, which would be global climate change, which I talked about earlier, the policies. So I'm now going to talk about the policies real quick. So some of the policies that go in are taxes. Now, don't get afraid when I say taxes that people are coming to take your money. I myself don't like taxes that much, but hear me out on this one. So we're thinking about a carbon emission tax, and that wouldn't be for the consumer, so to say, but that would be towards the companies who produce automobiles and drill for oil. This would put a tax on how much they drill and how much would go into their budget. So like a mother swiping their child's hand away not to do something, we won't actually do it unless somebody's telling us not to or there's a cost on it. So after we implement that policy, we'll be able to just move forward with renewable energy rather than going backwards. So today I have gone through and informed you not only on solar panels, but the effects from not switching to solar panels. My last slide is the conclusion. We make a stand and we make a change. We decide if we want solar panels and they work in our area. So as we've seen in North Carolina, which we do live in, that people are afraid that the sun's going to disappear if we use solar panels. So we have to make a stand and provide why these actually would work with science rather than kind of being just scared at things. And an actual change to provide a better world for tomorrow, we have to look not only to the future, but we must provide changes to the past choices that we have made. This would include a cleanup of all the oil spills we have, a patch up of all the oil pipes we have so they don't drain, and also a change to renewable energies, such as solar panels. I'll leave you with the thought of that CO2 is oil waste, and then we can focus on a way to reverse the effects on our planet. As Thomas Edison would say, I'd put money in solar energy, and what an energy source of power that would be. Thank you.